Video game publisher Konami has announced that 2 of their properties are going to be receiving tabletop game adaptations in the relatively near future. Video games are no stranger to the tabletop world. We've seen plenty of adaptations before, but these 2 are new to the scene as far as I know. The first one is Contra. The Contra board game is going to be developed by Blacklist Games, who have put out titles like Brook City and Street Masters, as well as Alter Quest. All of those have gone through Kickstarter. And the Contra board game is going to be supposedly card-driven, but will include miniatures. And it will be about tactics. We do not know very much beyond that. Being about tactics is pretty generic for a description, as descriptions go. But the Contra video game, of course, is a side-scrolling run-and-gun shooter that is traditionally very difficult, very punishing, requires a lot of good timing, a little bit of luck, and a lot of knowing the levels and getting experience with how to do things. So it will be interesting to see how they take that and translate it to more of a turn-based, presumably, atmosphere when that comes out.
Konami also announced that the Bomberman series will be making its appearance in the board game world, this one by IDW Games. This is actually not the first Konami-related product IDW has. They are making the Metal Gear Solid game, which we actually got a chance to take a look at Gen Con. This one, however, is based on Bomberman and is actually based on the most recent series, the Super Bomberman R, but there are plenty of other Bomberman games which people are excited about to maybe see some of those get some representation, whether in a new game or maybe possibly an expansion as part of this game. They have said that this is a epic battling game with lots of colorful characters and minis, so expect the multiplayer madness.
Yeah, I believe IDW, they also have the rights for board games and card games, plus some other, merchandise for Bomberman. So I don't know exactly. We'll see which one of those comes out first. If they do both types of games, if there's multiple different Bomberman games. But why don't we start with Bomberman since we're talking about it? What would you want to see from a Bomberman game? What type of gameplay do you think that could be that would represent what you get from the video game?
Well, I think it should be definitely a multiplayer game. This one definitely feels like a competitive multiplayer game because I think the most fun we had out of that was the just running around trying to blow each other up.
Yeah, it's that chaos that you want.
So I think that could work pretty well. Like each turn, everyone has to move. I would probably put a sand timer so you have to take short turns. No tactical thinking. Yeah,
no, the idea of either making it in real time, like you said, something like that to push the clock forward, because I think that's a big part of Bomberman is the frantic nature of you don't have time to really think things out, that you're running around just trying to blow things up, especially because it'll be interesting. Like I could easily imagine a very one-to-one adaptation where you have a board, there's blocks, you can drop a bomb and move on your turn, but it being turn-based, I feel like if you did it that way, it could be very tedious in board game form. So either they would have to make the bombs stronger, make the walls break faster, or do something completely different. I could even see it just as a card game being a less direct adaptation where you're playing cards that are a certain kind of bomb and people are blocking them. Could have some take that stuff. I mean, probably if they're true to it, there will be some kind of player elimination too. Either that or you'll be able to come back after you've died, but that's a big part of Bomberman 2 is dying after one hit.
Yeah, I really do hope they play on how you can sort of come back into the game, because I don't think there's many board games that do that, and it would definitely keep that frantic nature that you're not out.
Definitely. Maybe a system where you have multiple bombers or maybe, or just multiple lives like it would be in the actual game. And then Contra, I think, is the one that most people are having a harder time picturing what that's going to be. In my head, I would think more of I'm thinking co-op, although they did not announce whether it would be or not, but, those games did have co-op play. And some kind of a difficult board control type of thing is what I would imagine, where enemies are coming in and you have to play cards to move around and shoot them and keep your space clear.
I am not as versed in Contra, but I have played a lot of cooperative board games and card games that are really difficult. So I don't think getting that difficulty that Contra is known for should be too hard. or at least that feels like that spirit. The one thing I do want to mention, I have found some of my favorite representations of games weren't the ones heavy in minis, like Dark Souls, but was actually like Bloodborne or the God of War game, which are just card games. And I think those actually were more enjoyable than I found playing a lot of heavy mini games. If they oh, we want to try to be this is true, so we're gonna have minis and stuff. I'm like, you're just like a worse version of the video game then.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for taking the core, the spirit of the game, and making it flow as a board game rather than, like you said, like really trying to just be the board game, the video game, but on your table, which doesn't always translate directly really well. Well, we will see. Both of these games are slated for release later this year. Whether they meet that date or what form they will take, we still have to wait to find out. But it is interesting, you like the Metal Gear game, and so it seems like Konami has a good relationship with IDW, but they're also branching out with Blacklist games. So, we'll see if they send anything else out to the board game world, maybe Castlevania in the future, or let us know in the comments what Konami title would you like to see them make a board game based on, and what are you hoping to see from Bomberman and Contra? Perhaps later this year. Are you excited? Do you want minis? Do you want chaos? Talk to us. Are you going to use the famous Konami code? I'm sure they got to have that as an Easter egg in there, right? In the Contra game.
No, Jonathan. What everyone wants is pachinko.
Yeah, I think you're correct. Talk to us in the comments. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this is Roll for Crit.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing and supporting us on Patreon.
You're not a hidden traitor, are you? Come on, like us.